Hey, you guys. I don't know. I was just sitting outside and I was going to talk about dragonflies. I don't know why. Um, when I was little and we went to the Boundary Waters or to the lake, I remember a few times, well, a lot of times, but they would land on me, on my hand, and I just, and sometimes they land on the screens out here outside the window, and I take some, taken pictures of them. They, they're so fascinating, dragonflies. Um, and I just, sometimes I was looking up today and I was thinking they almost look like mechanicalized, remote controlled, and maybe I have that contact, only one in right now. And so my perception and my vision is like, you know, one eye is kind of blurry and the other eye is focused and clear, but then together it's so clear, except when I look at things on a certain level. Um, and I think that's, I've done that. I've always done that. Even in um, when I wore contacts in high school, I would just wear one. Um, I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying that it fixed a problem with one of my eyes at one time, and I do switch them, contacts back and forth. Sometimes they go completely out of focus. Like I don't know if I'm using one muscle more, or my optic nerves are like different. um, so yeah, I was looking at those dragonflies and just thinking they usually land on the screen by the kitchen window. Um, I was also thinking about once in Grandma's apartment, there was a bat flew in. There used to be lots of bats at Bethel Church across the street from Havoc's where she lived. And we found one in the apartment and we caught it with a paper bag. And we took it outside on the street and it was daylight and we felt really bad. I'm not going to say who it was, Chrissy or Margie, but we let it go and it kind of fell on the cement and we just sat there and like what now? It just was sitting there. Finally, it took off and flew away into the church or somewhere. Um, but yeah, I've always had this real connection with like animals, and I have to admit that I have worked in places that have processed turkeys, and I helped on the farm with killing animals. And when we were growing up, um, we raised chickens and ducks, roosters, rabbits, hamsters, guinea pigs. I mean, we had everything, and a lot of that was in California. We had snakes and lizards and cats and dogs. I mean, and Margie and I would go collecting ducklings sometimes, or ducks, and there's one really funny story, and she knows what it is. I think about it though. I think about, we got home and we were just covered in like, we had walked through this manure kind of pasture and we kind of sank in it and our pants were just full. And I'm surprised we had pants on, but maybe since we were going down by the boggy swamp area, we needed them. There were some other things in California. I mean, some fun things. We would go to the flea market in Bodega Bay, um, and that was fun. I just remember it wasn't really. I mean, it almost looked like a country fair. I mean, it was like a big flea market and just tons of animals and prize animals and like animals for for show or for breeding. And, we used, or we, had our animals, either for in the chicken coop. And I'll tell you this other funny story. We would swing on the weeping willow branches. And one time, Ricky, well, we all did probably, but Ricky fell into the chicken coop. That was so funny. I mean, it's not funny, but, we would hide up there in that tree. It was a great big tree. And um, there was, other memories related to that. You know, they're not painful anymore. I don't know if I'm going to share them with you yet. It's not that I'm hiding them. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe an in-person discussion or at a later time. I'm just going to. I like reading, and I haven't used these cards in a long time. But, it does talk about what I feel, and I value intelligence, and I really look at learning as a really important thing. I also think that a lot of times, and there's people, and I can't remember who it was who said this, but you can't learn. There's these helicopters that keep flying. Sometimes I think they're Lifelink, and or North Memorial flying. When I flew for Lifelink, we flew into Hennepin County a lot, and to Abbott. We didn't go to Enter Regions. We didn't go to North. I didn't ever go to North with Lifelink because they had their own helicopter service, and sometimes I think they went there, but it wasn't very often. I'm trying to think of other things to talk about. Butterflies. I keep seeing these monarch butterflies. I love butterflies too. One of those things that we used to do, and I hate saying it, but in classes, I mean, they would have those butterflies, and then on those sheets, and then you'd have to go and identify them, the kinds that they were, and I could just sit there, for hours looking at them. Their wings were so beautiful, and but I find that in a lot of different animals that there's things about them, and I guess that animals, in some ways, show humans how to care for things and care for each other. I know we probably in the past haven't done the best job taking care of, animals. Sometimes the cats here are just, sometimes they're like, "Meow, meow," and it's like, I just gave you food. I know, But then I'm like, I'm cave in, and I'm like, oh, do you want some milk? Or do you want a snack? Or I was thinking about starting to make their own cat food. I used to do that for my dogs. I used to make homemade dog food, which was really easy to do. I mean, I would taste it too because it was just like people food, depending on what you put in it. It smelled good, and I would just make a big, a lot of it. Um, I have that community up that I post in, and I post these there a lot. Um, I hope one day you find it and you see it, and you realize, how much I loved you and still do. Um, I do so much. Trying to think what else I could talk to you about. Well, I guess I could talk to you. Well, I talked to you then about that already. Um, I guess the other day too, I was on the bus and on the train, and I was thinking, I saw some people in like mechanized and in wheelchairs, um, and this one woman, I just looked at her, and she looked at me, and I thought, wow, you know, I think she knew what I was saying. I mean, it was a helicopter. I think they used to, when I was sitting outside at night, I would hear them all the time. I thought, wow, Lifelink is flying like a lot. Um, but I think she knew that I was watching her, and I was just thinking, you know, that is, you know, sometimes a hard thing to imagine. I've been fortunate to not be really sick. I mean, I've been sick and I've been hospitalized before. You know, I know that if I was really sick, I would be strong too. A friend of mine, you know, I've been in so many situations where I've seen people, decide to just quit treatment, like medical treatment. Um, One woman in particular, she had pulmonary hypertension, and she just, she wanted to go home, and I said, we can't send you home. Even though I wanted to, I was like, I would love for you to go home. If that's what you want to do, go home. And she just said, well, I want you to stop the flow, man. And I was like, I was okay with it. And then they wanted to have a big ethics committee about it and say, well, she's not really within her right frame of mind and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, she is. Yes. That's her choice. And so I really supported her decision. And I think most of the other staff, if not all the staff, agreed with it. There was a couple of people that were like, well, she'll be leaving family and kids. And I was like, yeah, but she just said that she has no quality of life, and her family had always, had to come up and see her, and it was hard for her to hold her kids. And so, and she had had enough. She was just like, that was her choice and her road to go on. And I supported it. I mean, a lot of us did. I mean, there's been other times when, and like at work, where I've had ethical problems. I've run across ethical problems, and I used to say things like, just because we can do something, does that make it right? And not that I'm saying right on a moral judgment, but does that make it either the necessary thing to do, or what, where where's the balance? I mean, what is there a balance then? Is there a, oh, if we do this, this is going to go like this or this, or is it going to level off? And it might be like this for a while, but in the long run. And so when we would make decisions, it's like we would get everybody together and be like, okay, now, and the family, and go, now, is this going to be a painful thing in the immediate sphere, or is it going to be a long-standing just nightmare forever? And so, I would ask a lot of people. I'd be like, well, how do you think this will impact this, and I would go through, not a list, but I mean, always have these kind of, well, what about this? And, you've got to think that this might happen then. And, some people were like, well, just don't worry about that. And I'm like, don't worry about that? Okay. Well, when that happens, and you say, now what? And I'll be like, oh, I don't know. I was, you didn't want me to be worried about it. So I was just like, so, I mean, you have to take a look at just how the ripple effect can happen, and that, that this impacts this and this and this and this. I know these aren't new ideas. It's, but it's, you need to be able to do that. Like, I don't know. Some of this seems a little, pointless now. But I'm just trying to tell you how my feelings are on about it. Not so much from, the aspect that it's, it's going to make a difference. It's just important, for me to talk about, like, for you to know this in whenever time. To talk about that actions have consequences. Most of my life I spent in service to other people, as a nurse, as an educator or a preceptor, as, well, I consider myself a teacher, a student. I've always been a student. I think that's really important. Even though right now I'm doing different kind of self-teaching myself, Stephen Philip Lindquist. And you, and you. So, really, I think, the times that I've needed to take a break to just be like, those have been times when I've been able to dive really deep inside myself and be like, what do I need to do? That's not always easy, and I don't think that's always something that other people get. Or they don't get a chance to do that, or, I thought about going to these retreats at one time where you would go and be silent for the whole weekend, and at that time I could have done that more easily. Now I have this great need to talk and to, like, and I probably, will do that. I'm going to do that experiment here in a minute. I'll let you know how that goes later. But yeah, I'm looking at funny. yeah, it's just I I feel a lot different about things. And I've had some real strong emotions and opinions about one thing or another lately, and I just kind of from last night on, I just kind of went, just not that I fell. It's just that you know, I can feel it too. That I'm just more, you know, and it hasn't been all that easy. Of course, I said was an easy. I said I was easy, not at all. I think I wish I knew what you wanted me to talk about. I mean, I could talk about weather and about nature and how I look at it, and then I look at the how people treat it, nature, and how real understanding nature would be that, you know, do not be throwing stuff on the ground. You know, nature has a way of recycling things, and it does a really good job of, you know, cleansing the air and filtering particles out of, the atmosphere. Not the atmosphere so much as the air around us. Um, I don't know. It's something to think about. I mean, I see, garbage on the. And when I first moved into this neighborhood, I was out cleaning with a group of women and some other people from the neighborhood, and that was great. That was great. You know, and I plan to do some other community things, and so I was doing some research tonight, and I was, I might not have seemed very, grateful lately, and today I was just like, you know what, you know, I am, and I don't know if I don't know. I just, yeah. So I'll let you go for now, and I'll talk to you later. I love you.